What's going on, everybody? It's Lone Star Cards here, and I just wanted to share some stuff, some thoughts I had. I just got home from the Dallas Card Show for the 4th of July weekend in Dallas, a couple weeks here before the National in Cleveland. And I don't know, this is maybe a little bit of a rant video. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I was a little frustrated with my experience, and we'll cover a couple reasons why. So I went out, took my son, we went to the card show, and we're excited. We're going to spend some money. We're going to stay a couple days. We're buying tickets to the show. Big show, very big show. Lots of people, even though we're super close to right before the National. And so it was exciting. And we were excited to go. We were excited to have some fun, spend some money. So we get out there and we check into the hotel. We decide the first day we got there early enough that it would be worth it to buy tickets. So we get in, we start walking around, met some amazing people. Before I go on my negative rant, I would like to say that Bandit Cards, Frank Ritchie, there were some great people, dealers that were set up there, had a great conversation with a lot of people. But my disappointment is that I value my time, and I like to think that most people value their time. And what was frustrating for me was, as much time as it took me to walk around and try to look, there were a couple points of frustration. A lot of dealers at these card shows are not very organized. Some are very organized. Ashish, he's somebody who has amazing vintage stuff every time. I love going to his booth. It's alphabetized. Hey, if you're looking for Ted Williams, then you just kind of follow the alphabet and boom, that's what he's got, and that's what you can look at. Makes it easy for you to prioritize your time as a buyer. Others, you're looking in cases. They have so many cards and stuff inside the cases that they're covered up. They're covering up grades. You can't even see a grade on a card. You just see that it's slabbed or whatnot. Half the time, you don't even know who the player is because they're so covered up. Because they're stuffing their stuff in there. So that was very frustrating. You're trying to see. Like I like to get a lay of the land when I go to something like that, and I want to see where I might be interested in spending my money. And to be clear, when we went to the show this weekend, I had no set targets. Like I wasn't, hey, this guy's on my hit list, I'm trying to take this card, this whatever. I was open, so I really wanted to take in what people had to offer. And I was very, very disappointed in the way that most dealers were not very well thought out with their stuff. Some guys had their stuff separated, at least by sport. So like I'm not a basketball collector, so I see a basketball case, move on to the next one. That made it a little easier. But others, it was just a hodgepodge, a mixture of everything. You might have vintage baseball right next to modern football, right next to junk wax basketball, and it made it very I don't want to say overwhelming, but not very pleasant experience when you go, because as I got there, I started to develop a little bit about what I was looking to do, and I kind of made a decision that I was going to focus on purchasing some football for my personal collection and maybe some stuff that I could move later on down the road during football season when people hit sell markers, stuff like that. Good performances, playoffs, MVP, stuff like that. I really settled in on CJ Stroud. I have a personal affinity towards him just because I used to work in Rancho Cucamonga and he went to Rancho Cucamonga High School. So it also just so happens that he's a really good football quarterback with a really good offense around him. But last year, I was real big into Sam Howell because I like his story and where he came from and his moxie. So every year I have a different guy that I kind of get into, and this year happened to be CJ Stroud. And I'm not naive, right? I've been in the card market for a while. So I've done homework on Stroud. And this is going to take me into my next point, where I was super, super disappointed in the show and the dealers. It's not the show's responsibility, but here's where I'm going with this. It's very frustrating when you go somewhere, you have the opportunity to get something right then and there. And I'm not even talking about a silver PSA Prism. I'm talking about just a base CJ Stroud Prism. Average sale is about $106, or it was over the weekend when I was looking. And let's call it $100 so we can do quick math in our head and you guys can kind of follow where I'm going. So those are sales that are coming off of eBay. eBay charges 13% fees, which means that if the card is a $100 card, the seller is already paying $13 in fees, maybe even a little more, right? So they're not pocketing $100, they're pocketing $80 to $85. So I'm expecting when I go to a show, especially one as large and touted as the Dallas Card Show, that there's going to be all these ethical vendors there and be within reason on their cards. And this card in particular, because I was hunting it all weekend for a reasonable price, every time I went to a booth, how much do you have on this Stroud? 140, 135, 130. And I'm like, these are not even close to comps, right? If they would have said 110, and then maybe we could have had that conversation of, well, I could get it on eBay. And I probably maybe should have done that to a couple of them, but none of them were really jerks about it. They're just, oh, this. Well, part of it too is I wasn't a jerk back either. Like, they tell me 140, I walk away, right? But here we go back to wasting my time. And some people will make the argument that, well, they come there, they pay a table fee. I've paid table fees to sell cards. That doesn't give you a right to take advantage of people. And two, it costs me money to go there also. Maybe even more than them minus the table fee, because I'm sure if they're staying at the hotel, they're getting a group discount rate for being a vendor, right? So they're probably paying significantly less than what I'm paying to stay at the hotel. But I had to drive there. I had to spend my gas. I had to buy food. I had to rent a hotel room. It cost me money to go there to buy, just as it cost them money to go there to sell. So that doesn't justify a 40 or 50% markup on a card, especially on a not rare card. We're not talking about trying to set the market. We're talking about a card where the market is well established, or trying to sell damaged cards, not in holders, for raw mint prices. And not one dealer was upfront about, hey, that one's got a ding corner. They want you to look at it and go, I'd pick up a CJ Stroud Silver Prism. The guy wanted $300 for it. It's ungraded. I look at it, it's got a bent corner, and I'm like, hey, do you know the corner's bent on this? And he's like, oh yeah. And he still wanted $300 for that card, not graded. And then I thought to myself, with all this talk about hobby growth and expectations within the hobby, how disappointing it is to see people behaving like that, trying to still take advantage of people. That's kind of how I felt about it. It bothered me quite a bit, because here's the thing. I've been doing this for quite a while. I do my research. I know where to look. I know what cards are going for, especially cards I'm trying to buy. So when I walk up and a guy's trying to sell me a CJ Stroud Prism for $140, I know that's a horrible price and I'm not going to pay it. But think about this. We're trying to grow the hobby, which means that new people have to come into the hobby. So let's say I'm a new guy, right? Let's hypothetically say that I don't know anything about that. I live in the Dallas area. I hear about this great card show. I want to go check it out. Maybe I'm a Texans fan because I'm from Texas and whatever, and they're playing good. So I want a CJ Stroud card. So I walk up to a vendor. Man, how much is that card? It's PSA 10. It's this, it's that. I'm thinking it's super cool. Yeah, $140. Cool. I buy that card for $140. And I'm all excited, right? And then I go home and I start telling everybody, hey, I got this card, right? That's how you grow any market. Word of mouth, reputation, these types of things. So I'm telling people how I did on this card. Maybe he has a friend who is into cards. Hey, what'd you pay for that? Oh, I paid $140. And then his friend breaks the news to him. Oh man, I don't know where you bought that from, but you must have had sucker written on your face because that's a $100 card that you just paid $140 for. Well, if I'm a new person into the hobby and that's how I just got treated, I may never go back. I may not buy another card. I for sure am not ever going to buy anything from that person again. So you got me for $40 when, if you were reasonable, I might be coming back to look for you, right? To get more stuff as I grow in the hobby and I develop what I want to buy. But this is a real problem, guys. Like, I'm a collector and I'm a dealer. I've got a room full of cards that I sell. I've got stuff that I collect. But this is a huge problem. And I know there's people who talk about regulating cards and maybe there's a need for it. And I'm not a fan of that type of stuff because I like to believe that people can do the right thing on their own. But when you see stuff like that, it's very disappointing. And then you think, well, now I understand the argument for regulation because that guy could go, if he wants a CJ Stroud card, he can go online and get one for $100. And guess what? The dealer's going to get $86, $87. Or he can go to the card show and pay $140 for that card. And he's way upside down already. And the dealer just made an extra $60-something. For what? They're not paying taxes for that. They're not paying any fees. That's where we're off. That's where we're missing something. And it actually kind of made me mad because even though I did go, I met some great people. I love connecting with people in the hobby. I met some great vendors. I spent money, guys. I'm going to be putting out a video of what I purchased at the card show. But I promise you this, I spent not a dime anywhere where people were unreasonable with their prices. And you can pick them out towards the end of the show because you go up to a booth, hey, do you have any of this? Oh, we sold them all on Thursday and Friday. Well, what were you selling? Well, we were selling for comps. Well, that's why they don't have any, and all the other people still have them because they're trying to rip people off. And I hope those people don't make a dime. I hope you see this video. I hope you saw me walking around. I hope maybe I was one of the guys who talked to you who was interested in a card and I didn't buy something from you. Because it's going to take that. We either need those people to leave the hobby, which doesn't grow the hobby, or we need them to start doing the right thing, which is pricing their cards where they should be. I spent quite a bit of money this weekend. But it's shameful how we're part of this hobby. It's a respected thing. And you have these people in here who are trying to say that they're legitimately doing business and all they're doing is trying to essentially steal from people. And it's kind of gross, right? Like a lot of things, something's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. But that doesn't give somebody a right to take advantage of somebody who maybe doesn't know what they're doing and they're trying to find their way or get into it. If you want somebody to get excited about it, a dealer should explain to them like, hey, this card online is going for 110 bucks. But because you're at a card show and I don't have to pay dealer fees, I can sell you this card right now for $100. Now that guy walks away with a card thinking he got a great deal, and he did get a good deal. That's a good deal. Explain it. Don't just tell him, oh, it's 140, and then watch the guy give you $140, walk away. It's not a good way to do business. It's not ethical, and there's a problem with that. And that's where the hobby needs to get corrected. Because just like that guy paid money to be there to sell his cards, I spent money too, a substantial amount of money to be there to buy cards. So it goes both ways. The consumer also has power, and the best way you can do it is not spend the money. And it took me my drive home to really think about if I was even going to be going back to that show, if it's going to be worth my time, because the money I spent to go there, I could have bought a Downtown, right? I could have bought a Kaboom, but I spent that time, that money to go down there with my son and enjoy the weekend and meet people, which I did. I met some amazing people. Shouted out to them early on. I want to make sure I get the good out of the way before the bad. But it really kind of bothered me, and it's maybe a little bit of a rant, but it's not the way that ethical people do business. It's not how it should be. Maybe you price your card $10 over or whatever because you know people are going to want to negotiate. But if you really know what you're doing, you know that it's a $110 card, and you price it appropriately. And then and then when somebody says, "Hey, will you take 100?" Well, then maybe you take 100. But if somebody walks up and says, it's no different than if somebody were to walk up and say, "Hey, will you take $50 for that card?" What are you going to tell them? You're probably going to laugh at them, tell them no, right? So why is it okay for the dealer then to overcharge somebody by $40 or $50? It doesn't make sense to me. It's like a double standard, and it's not okay. And I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. Hopefully this doesn't put too sour of a taste in your mouth, but I'm a big fan of telling people how it is. Like I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. I was just really disappointed because I value my time, and I felt like a lot of people were wasting not just my time, but other people's time. I can't speak for other people, but I can say that kind of pissed me off, because if I knew right away that all, and I would say it's not like a minority thing. There's probably 70-80% of the people who set up at that card show do not price their stuff appropriately. It's way over what it should be, way over. And it's really made me think, like, do I even want to go back there? Maybe it would be worth it to go there and sell some of my cards to dealers, but even then I have to factor in the cost of what it takes to be there to do that. So, and I'm by no means rich, but I'm also by no means poor. Like, I spend quite a few doll hairs on cards, and I have a pretty decent collection, a broad collection, but it's really just doesn't sit well with me, guys. I've been thinking about it. I really wanted to do this video. I don't do a ton of videos like this, and I'll do a video coming up here pretty quick on the cards I picked up. They were pretty cool. All in all, I spent it was probably a $1,500 weekend between card pickups and out-of-pocket fees to go. But that's what I'm saying. Makes you question on whether it's worth it or not. And it's not okay that these people are in there trying to rip people off, because we're not ever going to grow the market. We're not going to grow the hobby by taking advantage of people like that. Perfect example. Here's an uptick on the other side. I had done some research on the Aaron Judge Catch rookie card. I could see that it's going for $140, $150. I start talking to a dealer. We're having a good conversation. And I didn't want to just come out and tell him like, hey, you got that price too low, right? It goes both ways. So I see the card. It's marked at $115 or $125. I'm not even interested in buying that card. I did buy one this weekend, but I didn't buy it from him. But I tell him, hey, what do you need out of that card? I know it's a $150 card. So what does he do? Pulls it out. He scans it and he goes, oh, I'm way too low. I can't let this go for under $135, which is not a bad price. It's well within that comp range. But I helped him reprice a card because I didn't want him to get taken advantage of. So just like these dealers are taking advantage of prospective new people into the hobby, people established in the hobby should not be taking advantage of dealers either, because it has to be a two-way street. So he repriced his card. I hope he sold it. I don't know if he did. I ended up picking up that card later at the show, but not in the chrome version, just the base tops, just to have one. And it's a cheaper card. So I could have easily just said, hey, I'll take that. Paid $125, walked away, and been happy. And he could have said, hey, thanks for letting me know if you want it. I priced it that way. You can have it for $125. He could have done that too, which probably if I was the dealer, I might have handled it that way. But the fact of the matter is, I pointed it out to him because I didn't want him to feel like he was being taken advantage of. But it's also a measure to test where's his moral compass. And he said he's low, which he was. And then he changed his price. Okay, fair enough, right? Like, I was bringing it to his attention, but I probably would have bought the card from him if he had told me I could still have it for that price, even though I told him essentially that it was underpriced. But I ended up saying, hey, you're welcome, and I walked off. And that's it, right? That was the interaction that we had. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Looking forward to hearing it. Be looking for my pickup video coming out soon. And until next time, guys, keep collecting what you love. Lone Star Cards, out.